Today, I am going to go over all of the tools needed to make felt flowers. So welcome to my channel and let's get started. First thing we need to talk about is the varieties of felt. There's 3 different varieties of felt that we can use. One is the acrylic felt. It's the cheapest felt. It is made of acrylic recycled plastic. Doesn't always work the best. It's a little stiffer to use. It's not as flexible. You can't really heat it up because it'll melt because it is made of plastic. But it's great for practicing on. It's great for getting used to cutting with scissors. It's cheaper. You don't have to feel like you're wasting any of your good felt. And I have seen people create some really beautiful flowers with it too, so don't let that hold you back. What I use is a polyester wool blend felt. This is your middle ground of your felt. It gives you a little bit more wiggle room to work with. You can heat it, it's smoother, and it comes in a variety of colors. The next step up is 100% wool felt. It's smoother and it looks fantastic and great, but it also has a little bit of drawbacks as well. For instance, it doesn't heat as well. It's a little bit harder to manipulate because it is only wool. That's why I stick with the polyester wool blend felt. It's the middle ground, it's affordable, and it works great. There are a few great places to buy felt. I sell felt in my shop, link below. Also, Benzie felt is a great option. The felt pod, great option. And there's a few different sellers on Etsy as well that you can look for. Next up is scissors. As you can see, I have quite the collection. All of these scissors have their uses, but these ones are my favorite to get started. So if all you have in your collections are these 2, you're good to go. But let's go through all of the scissors. First up, you've got your snips. These are great for cutting fine-tune tight corners. So for instance, if you're cutting something with tight corners for a petal and you need to kind of make real minute snips. Also, another thing they're perfect for is when you're making felt centers, you want to snip and make fringe. And these are perfect for that. It makes perfect little snips and you have full control. Whereas if you try to do that same thing with big ones, it's just a little bit more clunky. You still can, but a little bit less control. These scissors are perfect for cutting big, wide cuts. So these are perfect if you're gonna wanna cut a circle, as you can really make that blade go all the way around. Or these are also great for cutting leaves. So it just gives you one even cut instead of having to restart your blade a lot. Another scissor I like to use is these, as they've got a flat bottom here when you're cutting. So when you're cutting a long piece of felt, you can just cut a straight line and it keeps it straight and even on the bottom edge. Speaking of cutting felt, my preferred method is a rotary blade. I use a self-healing mat, a clear ruler that's got all of my measurements on, and this is perfect for cutting out the exact dimensions of felt that you need. You always get a straight line and it's always perfect. Next, we're gonna get into the fun scissors. These ones are your pinking shears, but they all have fun different shapes. So, using these, this one gives you a ruffled edge. So when you're making fringe for your centers, you have little guidelines on where to keep your fringe to make it exactly the same across. And then also it gives you this very rounded edge. They come in a variety of different sizes. So for instance, this one is a little bit bigger. And then we have, this one is more of a zigzag. So these will give you like points for your fringe. And then these ones are a really big wave. So these are perfect for when you're making your tulips and you want a little bit of edge for your center. This already gives you that curve and it's uniform and perfect every time versus cutting it by hand. Now you can still get all of those shapes with your scissors, but these just make them more fun. I'll leave a link below to my Amazon shop where you can find all of these tools. And if you buy off of my Amazon shop, it definitely helps fuel these videos. All right, next thing I use all the time is a die cut machine. These machines cut out very specific shapes perfectly every single time. And when making a plethora of felt flowers like I do every day, I want everything to be the same. All right, let's see how this works. So this is a Sizzix brand, which again, link below if you wanna get this exact same tool. Things that your machine comes with is these acrylic shims where you're gonna put your dies in between. I'll show you in a minute. Different plates that you can buy. This is a magnetic plate. Different plates to deal with different size dies, and shims to sandwich and get a perfect cut on your dies. And what you really need are dies. I'm not gonna go too into detail on dies and exactly how the machine works and all the options, as I do have another video coming about that. So check out my channel for that one if you would like a more in-depth video about die cutting. A brief view of how this works is you get a die, you throw the felt on top, you sandwich it between two pieces of acrylic. So the quick and dirty of doing dies is grab a piece of felt, throw it on your die, sandwich it between two acrylic pieces, and roll it through. This gives out the perfect leaf shape every time. So the last thing I use to cut felt flowers is my Cameo 4. You can use a Cricut Maker. I believe it's the last version that they just came out with, as well as you can only do it on the Cameo 4. And again, I'm gonna make another video about cutting on the Cameo 4 for felt. But for the purpose of this video, I do use this a lot, but I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail about it. So I use the Cameo 4 to cut out a bunch of simple shapes. This is great to have going on in the background and cutting out a full sheet of felt while I'm making and assembling flowers or die cutting over here. So I love my Cameo 4. I use this to cut out a long sheet of felt to cut out more simple shapes, and I have it going on in the background while I'm using my die cutter to cut out more shapes or assembling flowers, and I can just kind of set it up and kind of walk away and let it go. The one thing you do need is a rotary blade to make this work. I will go into more detail in another video about cutting felt on a machine, because it is definitely a little bit different and it definitely takes a few quirks and tricks to make it work well. So next tools that we really need, your trusty glue gun and your trusty glue sticks. So my favorite glue gun is the Sure Bonder High Temp Detail glue gun. I also buy the Sure Bonder glue sticks because I've tried the cheaper off-brand ones, and while they do work, they don't always fit perfectly in the glue gun. Sometimes they jam, sometimes it doesn't auto feed them nearly as well as if you just get the branded Sure Bonder glue sticks, but it does work. It is very important to make sure you get the fine detailed tip, as you definitely don't want a large amount of glue coming out onto your felt. Just keep in mind that this is a high temp glue gun, so all of this extremely hot. The glue coming out also very hot. I feel like my fingertips don't respond anymore since I've burned myself so many times that I can touch the glue, but don't, because it's very hot. I've definitely nicked myself on the side. It doesn't feel good. So the key important is to be able to just do a very nice, we don't want to focus, there we go, a nice thin bead of glue. You don't want to put a ton, less is more. And with my crazy fingers, if you do get too much, you can wipe a little bit off before you glue it to itself. But we'll just do that again and then fold. Fun little flower shape that you can make by just folding and gluing. Next thing I use a ton are felt balls. These are great bases for your flowers, and they make great centers. They come in a variety of sizes. So we've got small, medium, large, and then there's even a bigger size, and honestly they go all the way up to just, you know, gigantic. I carry all these felt balls in my shop too if you want to make it easy to just grab everything at once. So this is the fringe that we cut earlier. We just throw a bead of glue down and can wrap the ball. Obviously, did not cut enough, but that's okay. You get the idea. This makes a nice little fringe around your felt ball to make a perfect flower center. Again, you can find these felt balls in my shop. You can find them at Benzie Felt Shop. You can find them at the Felt Pod. Those are the reputable places that I would choose. And again, you can still search on Etsy and find them everywhere as well. So that was a lot of tools so far, but there's more. So hit the like and subscribe button and that notification bell so that you can follow along in part 2 to get the rest of the tools that I use to make felt flowers. Below is a link to my shop where you can buy the felt flower kits and some of the supplies. And there's a link below to my Amazon shop where you can find all the tools that I've mentioned thus far. I also get a kickback from using my Amazon store, so please use that, and that definitely helps the channel. So follow along for part 2.